All right. Good morning, you guys. So this is Feature Friday, and we've got Tom and Jen here, and we'll let
Happy New
them say
Year!
Happy New Year.
Happy New
We'll
First
let,
day
Year.
of the year, 2021. Yay.
we'll let them introduce themselves in just a second, but we'll say a prayer real quick and get this started. All right. Dear Lord, we just want to come to you, and we thank you and praise you for who you are. You've been so good to us. We thank you for another amazing year down. And we just ask for continued guidance and wisdom as we move through this year. And we ask for your blessing over this conversation and for people to be touched and healed through it. Thank you, Lord, for everything you've done for us and all the blessing you've given us. In Jesus' name,
Amen.
amen. All right, so we've got Tom and Jen Catanzaro.
Yay.
And we'll let them go ahead and
One of
introduce
our
yourself
favorite
and
people.
tell us about you guys.
So I'm Tom. This is Jen. We're a family on mission in Southern California, a little place called Hemet, which is in the high desert area near Palm Springs. I grew up here and then I left to go to a few places. Jen is from up north originally, Northern California. She lived in Hawaii, and then God brought us both back here around the same time, where we met and started a family. And yeah, now we're on mission for Jesus in the Valley, which is a really beautiful place and pretty populated as well. About 130,000 people in the Valley, but also very isolated. Which has been kind of nice during COVID, that we could just get away to the mountains or to the desert or to the beach. It's kind of centrally located. So yeah, nice place to raise a family, other than Colorado Springs, of course.
Nice. So we want to hear more about what you call family on mission, things like that, and what you guys are doing with that.
Yeah. So when we met, I was in ministry. I was serving as an assistant pastor at a local church. It was a small church, and it wasn't a very missional church. We met. I was the assistant pastor, but I also did youth, and so we did youth together. And I think that's when the Lord planted the seed that ministry should look more like family in a couple ways. The youth group we had, we started with a couple homeschoolers and
Like 5 kids.
and this one kid off the street who didn't say anything for like the first year and a half, wouldn't talk, almost like a mute, until the day he received Christ. He prayed to receive Christ. That's the first time we heard him talk. And then a little while later, he just started inviting people, and we had a Six Flags trip that we planned to say, hey, we'll buy the tickets, you just invite people. And all of a sudden we had like 30 kids. And so we took them to Six Flags, and we basically said, hey, we're just going to open up our home on Tuesday nights. Just come by and hang out. And over the course of about a year, we retained all of those kids just by letting them in our home and slowly sharing Jesus with them, moving from sort of an organic to a more structured kind of way of doing community. And yeah, within that year, like half the group got saved. And I think we really realized that, family is really an important entry point for people to be able to receive the gospel. And then we started having more kids at the same time. And so our family was growing. And I think the other realization next to that was, the more kids you have, the less capacity you have to sort of hold that balance or keep that line between your family and your mission. And so it became more of a necessity to integrate the two, to the point where we left the church we started working with local missionary agencies, different missional groups, nonprofits in town. And yeah, our ministry just started to look really different. And it was no longer about, sort of catering to groups of Christians. It was more about sort of letting non-Christians into our home, let them see sort of a lifestyle, a way of living, have them around our table, take them to the grocery store with us, like all the little tasks and things like that, things that we're already doing. We just invited people into what we're already doing. And we've seen a lot of, we've seen a lot of growth in people and a lot of fruit and a lot of people moving forward on the journey with the Lord as a result of that. And it hasn't felt like we left our family behind in the process. So that's my best description of it.
I love that you mentioned that you open your home, because that's actually how we got connected and how we met, because we were invited to one of those just regular day spending time, fellowship, and that's how we got connected when we used to live in Hemet. So love it, love you guys. I call them super hosts because they're really good at hosting. I wouldn't say events, but they are kind of.
But we don't host in the traditional way.
Yes, exactly.
We just open our door and say,
opening up your house
Yeah.
and just real life, mentoring, fellowship, just doing life together.
Yes.
Yeah, and you guys do it with all. I mean, you have a couple of kids, right?
A couple.
A few.
Gaggle.
Actually, yeah. How much is 5? That's more than a few. I think a few is 4. Several.
Tell us about your kids. Like, how old are they? And
we have 4 girls and one boy. Ages 6, 5, 3, 2, and 8 months. We just welcomed Judah, our only son for now, into our family this year in April. Kind of an interesting year to have a baby, as you know. So they're all very close together. When Tom and I met, I was already 30 and he was in his late 20s. So we identified pretty quickly that God was calling us to have a larger family. I don't think we ever had the expectation that it would come so quickly. So I'm literally a baby factory. And
we joke about Jen's annual baby.
Yeah.
She has an annual baby.
so
And I don't even call him by name.
We call him by number.
Yeah.
2 and 4, 1 and 3, 1 through 5, the odds and the evens.
I try to trick myself. I call them the bigs or the littles, but they're all littles.
They're all little. But there's been no greater joy for us than growing our family, and I think the best part is really being able to share them with other people. Out of necessity, yeah. Here, take this baby. The most fun I think we have is in sharing them with people and watching other people receive so much joy from them, and watching other people pour into them what we're not actually capable of pouring into them. So the more kids you have, the more dependent you become on other people just pitching in and taking the part. So it has, in growing our immediate family, we've actually out of necessity grown our community, and so we can see God's design in that, and the fact that they are all so young and so close together has just increased the need for that vulnerability and openness with other people to say, hey, if you're gonna be over here, maybe you could change a diaper or, sweep the floor so the baby doesn't put stuff in their mouth. And And I think that's really drawn people closer to our family much quicker than, you know, how you normally would get close to people. So something about changing diapers makes you feel really close to someone.
Fast friends.
Fast friends.
Yeah, you're right about that, because that's what I really admire about you guys is you're just getting people involved in like that daily, normal routine. And then when every time I get discouraged about parenting, I like think about you guys and say, hey, they're doing it. They have 5. All like under 6. So if they can do it, I can do it. I think that's what, yes, you guys are really inspiring, and we really admire how you manage the family and just invite everybody in. So that's what I really love about the Catanzaros. They're a special one.
Thank you.
Oh,
you guys
thank
are inspiring too, man, because you're growing your family and trying to manage a business too. Your own business. So
you guys are amazing.
yeah.
And raising daughters is hard. Little daughters is really hard.
Yeah.
So
We can commiserate.
Yeah, that's an interesting challenge. Okay, so did this whole what kind of changes did you guys have to go through throughout this year with 2020 and stuff? Family, business wise, what was it?
Yeah. Like a whole universe of changes, it felt like. I mean, it was rough at first because we had a new baby in April during COVID, the height of COVID, and that was really challenging. We were still pretty locked down, even when we brought the baby home, which was okay, right? It's nice to not have the expectation to be somewhere for the first few weeks of having a baby. Yeah, there was also just a lot of the stress of not knowing personally. So I operate mostly as a freelancer, and almost half my income was coming from freelance music as a freelance musician and teacher. It all went away when COVID hit. And so that has really forced us to take some projects that were on the back burner and really think about what it would take to move on those things. Essentially taking our skills and selling them online, really. But we had no experience, no idea what that would take. And so it's actually been this huge learning curve. Thankfully we've had the resources to invest in learning. But yeah, we basically had to become entrepreneurs overnight in order to figure out how we're going to be able to sustain not only the kingdom breakthrough that we want to see, but also, the 5 kids, and, build a future for them, and a somewhat secure future. And so, yeah, it has been an interesting, it's really been a time of learning new skills, learning new possibilities, dreaming. And it's been a roller coaster because, we learn something and then we flesh out an idea and then we try to adapt it to our family and our situation. And then, we scrap it, but then we take something from it, and then we come up with a new dream and a new vision, and we get more information. And yeah, it's just been really taxing, but very motivating, in one sense. COVID was good because there were a lot of things that we felt God calling us to do that we were just being lazy about because we were getting by. And so it feels like we got forced to start moving out on those things. So that's the good thing. But the bad thing has just been trying to envision that new life and learn all the skills needed to do that. And that has been hard. When you start anything, it takes time. It's a process. There's a lot of learning that happens. And there's a lot of dependence on God to lead you in the right places to the right people, and to wait on the right doors to open, and make the right investments and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a doozy of a year.
We learned how to rest well, though,
Yeah.
with our family. And I think if having 5 kids teaches you anything, it's how to be really intentional with your time, with your children, and how to really enjoy deep rest with your kids so that you're more connected with them, so that when you have to work or you have to be away from them, they don't completely come unglued. And I think that has been a really valuable lesson of 2020, and even more just a lesson in growing our family another time, because we thought after having 4, like, what's one more? But it was not the easy transition that we were anticipating, adding that 5th. So we also got really good at being flexible. I don't know that it's, we don't enjoy having to be so flexible all the time. It's not like, oh, yay, we're so flexible. But it's just something that you get used to. And when we see friends of ours or even our family with less children, we just kind of chuckle as they're really struggling with inflexibility. We're like, oh, well, yeah, we were there. We remember those days when these little upsets were very frustrating. But with 5, you just kind of roll with the punches sometimes and go, well, oh well, it is what it is.
You have to adapt really quickly.
Yeah.
He told us about that you were that you're a musician. Can you tell us more about that? So if people are interested, or if they know anybody that, because you teach that too, right? What do you
Music?
play? Yeah.
So I'm a saxophone player, and I play jazz music for the most part, but lots of different styles. And I was doing a lot of corporate work, which means these corporations hire these bands to play for big events, sort of in the background, so a lot of either jazz standards or like top 40 things. Artistically, not that satisfying, but just, you walk out with piles of cash. And it's a very specific skill set, and and all I can do right now is teach it, because performance has been completely shut down since COVID started, and it hasn't come back. And I don't know when it will come back. So, but yeah, I do teach music lessons. I focus mostly on improvisation, so I can teach more than just saxophone players. Any instrument who, anybody who plays an instrument and they're wanting to explore improvisation, which is basically ad-libbing, just, playing a song and then coming up with your own solos. And and I'm looking for ways right now to get a greater online presence to sort of have a teaching studio where I can pour into, 20 or 30 students to a greater extent, and teach them how to do that well. But yeah, that's this. I always joke I only have 2 skills. I only do 2 things well. I play jazz and I teach the Bible.
It's not true.
And that's really presents.
Not true at all.
It really presents some limitations. Whereas,
If anybody that's watching wants to learn from you, or they know somebody that wants to learn jazz and saxophone, how do they find you? Like,
they can go to my Facebook business page, Tom Catanzaro. Yeah, it's just my name, Tom Catanzaro, and it's a picture of me with the saxophone there.
okay.
And yeah, they can reach out there. I'll be running everything. I'll be running all the promotion and things out of that page. I also do have a website, tomcatmusic.biz, and that's where you can hear some audio samples of some of the performances I've done over the years, and just hear a little bit more about my story. So yeah, that's where people can find me.
Awesome.
And then real quick, one of the things that impressed me is with for a family of 5 kids, you guys have things pretty rounded up and structured in your household as far as like schedule and things like that, routines for the kids. Can you tell us a little more about that? How you guys handle the routines with 5 different kids, or how you even get them to go to bed at night?
It is not always easy.
There are 2 approaches to that. And sometimes we just kind of tag team. There's daddy's approach, which is a no nonsense, 0 tolerance, get in bed, stay there or else. And then there's mommy's approach, which is, you know,
I'll read you
a
a
long,
bedtime
drawn
story.
out, you know, kind
I
of
love
process.
you. All these healing conversations from the day, reflections from the day.
You know what? We have contact points throughout the day. So in the mornings, you know, typically we're sharing a Bible story with them, and we're
Over
praying with them
breakfast.
over breakfast. So sort of breakfast with God.
They're
feel.
captivated already. Anytime your kids are already captivated doing something, like they're stuck doing something, which is usually around a meal, it's a great time to connect with them or teach them because they're already there.
And I like to, you know, tell the stories in sort of silly way, and just engage them and point little things out. So that's a fun time. And then, you know, we move into some homeschool and some outside play. And there's just sort of there's just kind of a flow to the day that we try to keep intact, where these little contact points, they get a lot of time, free play time to themselves, to sort of keep themselves interested. There's a quiet time during the day where we just say, okay, the expectation now is for the next hour and a half, you're going to quietly read a book or play by yourself. The younger ones take a nap at that time. That's usually some time where Jen will get to, you know, get some time to herself to do some things, catch up with some things. And then there's sort of the time before, it's almost like a cleanup time before dinner, where we're just getting ready for dinner. And yeah, we try to keep the screen time low, and we just try to keep the outside time high and the undirected play time pretty high. And then, yeah, bedtime, we, you know, typically get them in bed, depending on who's putting them to bed, about 8 o'clock. And we'll pray with the kids. And, you know, we'll read stories beforehand. There's a little routine that they have. We found it helpful to let them help plan the routines. So Jen has been really good about sitting down with them and saying, okay, you know, what do you want to do for bedtime? And then making like pictures and fun little graphics that she can like hang up in different places. So, you know, there's like mealtime rules, you know, and it's right next to
they
the
helped
table.
come up with, and they helped design it with me on Canva. Canva.com is a great resource for designing things. And anytime I'm designing something that's going to go on the wall with our kids or for our kids, I always have them participate so that when they look, so that they're more interested in looking at it, because they, you know, picked that picture, or they helped put it in place, or they picked the color, or they picked the font. It gives them more buy-in to what you're actually putting on the wall. They helped us design the 5 rules, the general rules of our house, which are ask, peace, kindness, order, obey. So we try not to have,
Sorry about that. I had an alarm.
We try not to have tons of rules for this and rules for that and rules, because it can be really overwhelming. So the 5 general rules, whether we're in the house or we're at somebody else's house or we're, you know, at a park, the rules are ask, peace, kindness, order, obey. And if they're violating a rule, then we can direct them to it. Which rule are you violating? Which rule are you breaking right now? And then, and I've just spent the last probably year and a half just kind of rehearsing those until I can spell them backwards and forwards, and until they can recite it backwards and forwards. Even Charity, our 2-year-old, knows the 5 rules. she does not abide by them at all. But
Yeah, I think it's important to have sort of common language, because language creates culture. And so we have these, mantras and things that we try to repeat to them. We talk about our family in terms of a team, and we just try to get them to.
We're the coaches.
Yeah, we try to get them to avoid doing what's in their nature, which is basically just to live for themselves and be totally selfish. And so we use specific language to invite them into a specific culture. And of course we don't run it like we're not really militant. We build those structures around what we feel like they need. And so there's the daily structures. There's also the weekly structures that they begin. There's momentum being built through the week. And then they can begin to look forward to certain things, like our Friday night Sabbath dinner is like a special dinner. We'll read Proverbs 31. I'll pray for each of the kids. We'll have a special dinner, a special dessert that we all get to share together. And that starts our Sabbath day, which is, sundown to sundown. It's like all day Saturday. And then we put all of the devices in a box, turn them off, and we just have pure family time. We try not to leave the house because that gets complicated with 5 kids. That's not always restful for everybody. But we just try to connect with them all individually for an entire day, for like a 24-hour period. And then daily also, we try these things called, we call it mind, body, soul time, where each parent gets individual time with at least 2 of the kids. We try to alternate that.
We try to get all 5 kids 10 to 15 minutes. They tend to want more though.
Right.
You say, okay, 15 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. You get me undivided, my undivided attention for 15 minutes. They go nuts. They're like, it's better than going to a candy store and saying, get whatever you want. They want that time. And
it's not that that's the only time we spend with them, but the thrill for them is they get to choose what to do, right? So much of the time we spend with them, we're saying, oh, I'll do this for you, or we'll do this activity. But for mind, body, soul time, they get to choose. So, and
it's uninterrupted by any other siblings. That's the rule.
In theory.
Well, when you have so many littles, it's kind of hard. They're good with Judah. They're like, Judah can be a part of mind, body, soul time with me.
So it's like, so you said you try to get all of them. So like, one of you would do 2 and the other one would do 3, or I guess 2 and 2 right now. If Judah's probably not so much.
Judah has a special way of demanding attention. He gets a lot of attention just by default. So
that's great. Because I was going to say that's a whole hour out of the day.
Well, we on a consistent basis, we try to both have mind, body, soul time with each of them, at least all 4 of the bigger girls. Yeah, so it's a good hour out of the day that we're not doing anything else but investing that time. But it pays you back in dividends, because then the kids, you have so much more buy-in from the kids when you ask them to do their family contributions. Let's all do laundry. Jubilee, can you clean out the litter box? Okay. I hate doing that. Karis, can you unload the dishwasher? I can do it all by myself. Like, okay. So, but when you withhold that mind, body, soul time, then you pay for it in disobedience, disrespect, disorder. So for us, that has been a huge key to unlocking their participation and cooperation.
Like huge.
Oh, you're huge.
You're like back in the background.
I'm just cuddling with you. I don't get to get close to you very often during the day.
So, and let me say about those routines, we don't always keep them perfectly, but the key is building momentum over time. And when something doesn't work, you evaluate it, you go back to the drawing board. And what's ended up happening is over time, certain things have stuck and shaped the culture of our family. And many other things we tried and experimented with just went away, because they were unsustainable. But yeah, that's kind of how we approach it scientifically, in a sense.
Well, that's my background.
Yeah.
So everything I do is pretty scientific.
And I'm just anal.
Love it.
Love it. I'm learning a lot. Any projects or anything you're working on right now that you want to tell anybody that's watching?
Yeah, we're
They support you.
huh?
How can they support you?
So pretty soon, so music is one thing. If you know anybody who plays or wants to work on their improvisation, that's good. But we started a nonprofit. That's the other thing that COVID has done, is it forced us to organize our ministry. And we have some friends that you guys know that were friends of yours. First, you brought them to us, who are on a board for a nonprofit called Rise Missional Movements. And what we want to do is start movements of these families on mission, and just sort of immerse people in our way of living, and train them formally.
Not right now.
Train them formally in this style of ministry.
Is in my cherry boys.
You can have it back.
Through through formal coaching, ministry training, but for people who are motivated, who want to do ministry, but who aren't necessarily feeling called to like parking lot ministry or children's ministry at the church, right? It's like people who have a vision for an unreached neighborhood or network of relationships, and they feel like, I really want to intentionally reach these people, but maybe people who don't feel like they have the permission or the community support behind them to really do it. We want to come alongside them and empower them to really do what it takes to do the long work of evangelizing an unreached group, and building a family, like a spiritual extended family around them, which is what we've been able to do, and what we've learned to do. So it's a sort of a skill that we want to pass on in a way that is organized, but also accessible. And I think the key for us is we don't want to charge any money for that. We want to recruit people who share our values. And so we have a core statement of values that we put in front of people. And then we want to bring people in who already have that vision and are already moving on it. They've done something to move on it, or gathered people around that as well, and are just showing some movement on it. So we'd like to take them the rest of the way to basically multiply communities across our valley locally. And then I think COVID has also given us a vision of what can be done online, right? And the training that can happen, and the invitation that we can provide through the internet. And so, yeah, our vision has really exploded beyond just our local context because of COVID. And it's starting to feel like there's a lot more possibility online to export sort of what we do. So yeah, that's Rise Missional Movements. And I'm in the process where we just voted on the bylaws. Like we're just getting started, just getting organized. I'm in the process now of creating the online presence. So look for that soon. And I'm sure we'll be able to link Facebook groups and different things with True Worth. So
Awesome. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you guys for sharing all that. And yeah, the Rise Missional Movement, that's I got that right, Nate. Rise Missional Movements. That's definitely something that we believe in, because we're just all completely on board with what Tom and Jen Catanzaro are doing there with their family and with the missional communities. We loved it. We were a part of it physically there, and now we're just thrilled that we get to be a part of it online now. So it's really cool.
yes, especially since we were so sad when you left.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
It's like, we're just getting started. Where are you going?
Yeah, that was pretty sudden.
Yeah, for those of you guys watching and don't know what we're talking about, like we just met, and then that's when God called us to move here in Colorado. So
What was it, 3 months?
I think
Probably, I think so.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just starting to recruit sort of our disciple core, and Michael and Claire were at the top of that list, and they came back from a conference and said, God told us to move immediately. It's like, that's not fair.
That was pretty crazy how we
Yeah.
just went back.
But it's crazy how the COVID kind of forced us to get more connected online too. So it's
Mhm.
pretty amazing.
Yes. Yes.
It was great to be able to come see you guys though in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And just have a context for your life out there, and I think probably every couple of weeks we're like, so when are we going back again?
Yeah.
Really enjoyed having them.
It's a perfect midway stop when you're driving across the country.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you guys can put up with our 5 kids invading your home.
Not too many people are like, hey,
Yeah, come on over.
No, yeah.
Oh,
We loved it.
Yeah, that takes a special. You guys are pretty special.
Yeah.
We enjoyed that. Yeah,
Well,
but
we can't wait
appreciate
for
you.
the next one. But is there anything else that you guys want to tell anybody that's watching about?
Yep, let me grab Judah real quick.
You get to see the baby in a minute. Yeah, just it sounds generic or whatever, but like, follow your passion. I mean, I think there's a stage of life where passion is, maybe takes a backseat to necessity. But I've really just begun to see how my life unfolded in the way of like learning lots of different skills and learning lots of different aspects of life to support the passion that I had. There's Judah.
Hey, hey, Judah.
Say hi.
Oh, that's Mario.
Oh, you're so
He was
sweet.
3 months old when we met him.
Yeah, he was still quiet.
Yeah.
He turned a corner.
Hi,
Oh,
Dad.
The message and just you guys are awesome.
Appreciate
so
it.
thank you guys for joining us for today, and Tom or Jen, up to you guys. If you wouldn't mind praying us out real quick and
Sure.
wrap it up.
God, I just thank you for the opportunity to be connected through this technology. I thank you for all the people that are going to watch this and just be inspired by what you did. God, thank you for giving permission right now and empowerment to your people. God, thank you that Christianity is not just a set of rules or convictions, but it's a living way. And God, thank you for the ways that you have just empowered your church to live out the gospel, to incarnate and proclaim the good news, to be good news to those who need it. God, thank you for the way that you have positioned your people in 2020 for greater fruitfulness, for kingdom expansion. God, thank you for the way that you've used Michael and Claire to inspire others to step up and speak truth and be a voice of authority, and to encourage others and just draw others into you, deeper and deeper into their identity. Thank you, God, that you sent your son to die so that we could have access to your family on mission, and that we could have a greater part in this work that you've been doing over generations and generations and thousands of years through families. And God, thank you for your church, that no matter what happens, no matter how isolated we get, that we're still all unified and connected in you, and that you are going to achieve your purposes and that it can't be stopped. Your kingdom cannot be stopped. So we just thank you, God, for all of these things, because it's way beyond what we could do on our own. And we're glad that when we see what you're going to do, we're going to rejoice, and we're going to be grateful even for the hardships and the loss and just this incredible time we've gone through. So God, we look forward to 2021 and all the new works that you're going to do in our hearts and our lives. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on
you.
here. First day of the year.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an awesome 2021.
Thank you for having us
Yeah.
and letting us share our story.
You guys are awesome. We believe in what you're doing.
Likewise.
Thank you. Same.
You inspire us
Alright.
so much. So
I'm going to end the recording. So
All right.
bye.
bye everyone.
Bye.
Happy New Year.